What's going on, everybody? It is Max and Trev with BuzzTox here with our Westworld Episode 10 breakdown, where we're going to look at the teaser for Episode 10 and give you our thoughts and predictions about it. What's up, Trev?
Finale.
It's one of these things with this show. I love this show so much, and the predictions have been very, very good. We can't predict a finale. Finales are supposed to surprise you, so it's going to be really hard. So you guys got to be patient with us.
We're going to sure as hell try, though.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
So let's just talk about Ford's speech. Ford says, "Since I was a child, I always liked a good story. Stories become the people we dream to be. Lies that told a deeper truth. I always thought I could play some small part in that tradition. And for my pains, I got this. My new narrative."
I like how you started off by saying speech, because he's totally giving a speech.
Yes. Tell me what you think this is.
So I had to listen to it twice to pick up on it, but it sounds like he is doing his new narrative presentation. So we're going to get that in this episode.
But I find it interesting because I feel like it can't work out. Like, I feel like an event is going to happen, a host uprising. I think the speech is going to change from Ford talking to the shareholders to Ford talking to the victims. I think when he says, "And for my pains, I got this," I think that could be said to Bernard.
Yeah.
Or somebody that is about to kill him.
I don't know. It seems very, very podium sounding.
Yeah. I'm so sure that Ford is going to die, and I'm convinced that either Dolores or Bernard is going to do it. And for me, we talk about it all the time, the loop, the constant loop, like the man in the maze died 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It's this constant loop that Arnold has programmed. He knows that Ford is going to keep these people on these loops, so he used that to his benefit. So these hosts, the more they relive events, the more they can recall them. And Bernard has been in this constant loop with Ford where he's told to forget people he's killed, and this constant loop of realizing he's sentient but being told that he's not and being erased. So I think that loop is going to allow Bernard to kill Ford, and I think he's going to be saying a part of this to him as this happens, possibly.
How crazy would it be if them breaking out of it is part of Ford's plan, though? Like, he's proved to be such a master manipulator that I know he probably wouldn't want to play that dangerously, but maybe it got to a point where he had to. I'm not saying that that's what I believe. It just would be such a crazy twist.
Well, it's like, does that line up with his character, you know? Arnold was always the guy who approached consciousness and he wanted freedom for sentient hosts, whereas Ford is the guy who wants control. So, an ultimate control, because he doesn't trust other people with his creations. He only trusts himself, which is actually a good value, I guess.
But if he's the exterminator of free hosts, then maybe letting it play out a little bit would give him an understanding of what he needs to eliminate. You know what I mean? If he lets people play as they want to play, and I mean hosts in that analogy, then he knows exactly the sentient ones that are a threat.
Yeah, but then you constantly have to ask yourself the question, what kind of season 2 are we setting us up here for? Like,
I have no idea.
I feel like I'm torn. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, are they going to decimate the park? But then what happens in season 2? So, like, the park should still be operational in season 2. So I feel like something big enough has to happen to shock us, but small enough to not fuck up the next potential season.
That's the only thing I can resolve if it is part of Ford's plan, is to do this secretly behind, have Maeve breaking out up until a certain point where she can be captured. And all the meanwhile, he's released this awesome new story that everyone's going to want to come see. You know what I mean? Like he just masters the whole thing. But then I don't see him in the second season, though. That's the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
I can't see it happening.
Me neither. But anyways, we go to Teddy on the train. So he's actually reset, and we see him shoot a man in Sweetwater. Now, my thoughts on this is Angela killed him to send him back because he wasn't ready. And it's this what we said about the loops. It's constant loops. He needs to relive these loops, experience suffering and all these emotions to crack his core code to become sentient.
Yeah.
And I think this is the episode we're going to see that happen with Teddy. We've seen it with the Man in Black when he's choking out that thing and he pictures Dolores. He's done it before. I think it's going to happen in episode 10, but this time it's going to happen in Sweetwater. I think he's going to recall his memory of him shooting people in the old town, or the town buried by sand. And since these hosts relive these memories, we're actually going to see Teddy massacre everybody in Sweetwater.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get a reveal of who Wyatt is. Whether we see Dolores, whether we see himself, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
And poor old Abernathy might be in Sweetwater, in that location. So I'm just wondering, I don't know if Abernathy is... It seems like too much of a plot to pay off this season. Maybe this whole Abernathy relaying information outside of the park, maybe that's a season 2.
Could be, and they just set the stage.
Exactly.
We don't see him in any of this that I can see.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think they have enough room for Abernathy right now, to be honest.
Or it could be, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but it's like a classic trope of Abernathy walking off the train, and it's like Usual Suspects moment where he finally breaks, he like starts walking. You haven't seen that movie probably. But Kevin Spacey pretended to be sort of limp the whole time, and then he starts walking, and then he sort of starts walking normal again. So it'd be cool seeing Abernathy start like walking off the train and he's in the real world. It'd be pretty cool. And he's the only one that escaped.
Yeah, it would be awesome. And we get a lot of teases of people escaping in this. We see this escape. We see Hector grabbing the necrophilia guy.
Yeah.
Which you pointed out, he was actually what was he?
I think he was in disposal of these bodies. That's why he was able to do what he did to the bodies.
He was in disposal, so that is really interesting. Maybe it's the disposal of Hector's old body and he was given a new body because they burned their bodies alive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but we see him grab him, and this is obviously a part of the escape, and he's eventually going to regroup with Maeve, or maybe he already is with Maeve.
Well, I think it's like he's like a trash sorter. So he can't throw these things out because they have the charges in their back. So that he would probably be the one to know how to remove them, and maybe be the guy that would remove them so that they wouldn't blow up when they got thrown out.
No, exactly. You're right. He's the one that removes those. Nailed it. And then we see Felix escorting Maeve and Hector. We see Maeve and Felix going down the elevator, and we see Maeve in the underground in sub-level 83.
Oh, no surprise. Looking directly at Clementine.
Yes, and she walks in and sees Clementine. She looks kind of heartbroken. Bernard's probably lying on the floor. And this shot was really interesting because we get a shot of Maeve, but I'm pretty sure I see Hector and Felix in the background. But I'm confident I see hosts facing Maeve. Because we've always said that Maeve is getting her army from sub-level 83.
Yeah.
And she can fully control them. So it would make sense to me that they would be facing her.
Man, this is going to be one fucking hell of an episode.
I know. But yeah, in this time when she sees Clementine, we're going to see Bernard come back. I don't know how. I don't know if they can repair them, how fast that is. I don't know. Maybe she can code him and tell him that his code doesn't have to worry about the blood loss, so he can ignore the blood that he's lost and just operate. But he is organic now, so I feel like that kind of goes against what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Man, it would be really hard for me if this was the Ned Stark moment for Bernard's character.
Yeah, it'd be very upsetting. I really like Bernard.
We're holding on to hope, but it's like, hey, HBO has done that to us before. But it's also in a universe where people can't be brought back to life, though.
Exactly, and we've also have a hint on that when Bernard says these violent delights have violent ends, which is the glitch word, Arnold's core code glitch word that screwed up Dolores and then Maeve. So I think he has to come back, and this is the loop that brings Bernard to true sentience.
Yeah. I know we were mentioning it in our analysis video. What you said about the music, and we were talking about, like, that's like their fundamental code.
Yeah.
Is maybe poetry another fundamental code? And Ford was more of a music guy, whereas Arnold was more of a poetry guy?
I don't know.
And it's like a battle of arts in a way.
Yeah, that even goes back to the bicameral mind. Like it's the bicameral mind is also a battle between Ford and Arnold. Arnold being the voice in their heads and Ford being the actions that force them to do what he wants.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that Maeve said that her voice, these two mindsets are fighting each other, and that's exactly what's happening. Arnold and Ford are still fighting over after all this time. But then we go to the Man in Black and Dolores, and they're together, and they're outside of the church, and we look at a grave. I'm convinced this grave says Dolores Abernathy.
Yeah.
And I think they're really recalling their past here. And we see Dolores in, like, tears in another shot. I'm convinced this is when she finds out that the Man in Black is actually William.
Yeah, it's a pretty big reveal shot. Because you can even see it on his face when they flash to him.
Yeah, he even looks emotional. I think that, yes, she is going to relive a past memory and is going to perfectly mimic what is happening in the present with her and the Man in Black. And we're going to see a transition like we have constantly from between timelines. But this time we're going to see the transition from William becoming the Man in Black, literally in front of Dolores' eyes.
Yeah.
And then she will realize that the Man in Black is actually William. And that's the thing. We see a lot of different shots. We see Dolores look at the Man in Black with a cut, and she's all bruised, which I actually don't understand. I don't think the Man in Black would beat the shit out of her. I don't know, would he?
Maybe he had to. That sounds awful, but maybe he had to. He's doing what he would normally do to her to get her to break code, but she's sort of broken, already open, not understanding what he's doing to her.
Exactly, because we see the Man in Black give her a look after that where he doesn't look cold. He actually looks concerned.
Yeah, almost like he was sorry for what he just did.
Yeah, and he has concern and all this emotion behind his face. And I think we're going to kind of see a part of William come back in this moment with the Man in Black. Because from his point of view, he fell in love with this woman, Dolores. And I think we're going to tragically see that happen where he stops her from doing something terrible in the park. And then before he leaves the park, he's going to go revisit Dolores in Sweetwater, and she won't remember him, and it will be terrible. It'll be very tragic for him. And then when he comes back, he sees Dolores, but it's just a shade of who she was.
Yeah.
She looks like Dolores, she talks like Dolores, but she's not the Dolores that he knew.
Exactly.
And it's because she's following Ford's script, and she's following Ford's loop. And I think here it's going to be the first time in so long where the Man in Black actually sees the Dolores he fell in love with.
Dude, I just thought of something.
What?
Sorry to interrupt you, but I thought this was maybe pressing. Remember how we couldn't figure out why Ford can't get rid of Dolores?
Yeah.
The Man in Black.
He's on the board.
He probably made sure that Ford could never do anything to Dolores.
You are right. He owns Ford. He has shares in the company, and Ford is working for the Man in Black. He has voting rights to vote him out.
Yeah, because he can't stand Dolores because she probably did away with all this stuff. And
exactly.
And the Man in Black is William, and William is emotionally attached to her.
Absolutely nailed it. The reason Dolores is still in the park is because of the Man in Black. And Ford keeps her on her strict loop in the safest place in the park and recreated the Man in Black, William, to keep her in that safe loop.
Confirmed here on BuzzTox.
Fucking right. Let's move on. We're just killing it. But then it takes a drastic turn and we see Dolores actually dragging the Man in Black.
It could be deceitful. She could be saving him from some goons that showed up.
Most definitely. There's a lot of angles here. It could be conflict that happened before what we just talked about, or it could be her helping him or showing him something in a very aggressive way.
Yeah,
look at his face. His face is priceless. He's like, what the fuck is happening?
You know, exactly. Or it could be she's doing a little revenge on him, showing him how not right he was to do what he did to her in the past, because it seems almost exactly what he did to her.
But, we get another shot of Dolores' gun to the head. And, you know, I'm going to briefly say gun to the head to me means true sentience. It is an emotion. I've said it over and over again. If you want to know, check out the analysis videos. And I think there's a relation between your cornerstone of what makes you more human And it was the fact that Maeve's cornerstone was broken, which resulted in her killing herself.
Mm-hmm.
So it got me thinking, the gun to Dolores' head, could that mean that her cornerstone was corrupted? That the reason she achieved this true sentience is because something that she lived for was taken from her. Her core cornerstone that was given to her by Arnold. It could be Arnold himself, who died, and she killed Arnold, and then she ended up killing herself because she destroyed her cornerstone and she couldn't take it. Or I don't even know, like her cornerstone could be being trapped, and that realization that she actually is trapped, that she is a host, that she's living in this artificial world, destroys her cornerstone and result in her killing herself.
I don't know, because it usually has to be tragic, but maybe she was the first. She seems like she was the first, right?
Yeah. But regardless of what happens, I think it's grounded in the fact that Teddy was in that shooting, and as well as Dolores. And I think Dolores, on my point of view, I think she's definitely in line to become Wyatt. And I think she could have been a part of that shooting. So I don't know. We've also seen an individual turning the music to control them. I think that is forward, and what I find interesting is that Wyatt couldn't be controlled, and he ended up killing the general and ended up killing Teddy. And Teddy stopped because of the music. He was controlling him.
Yeah.
But Wyatt was uncontrollable. And I think the way Teddy perceives Wyatt is wrong. It was given to him by Ford. Wyatt is actually Dolores. And the reason the music didn't affect Dolores is because she became truly sentient in that moment. That's why she put the gun to her head. That's why she didn't respond to the music. Case closed, bitches.
Yeah. No, I agree. I really hope that is. If she's Wyatt, that would be so awesome.
Yeah. And then we see a shot of William, and William is on a horse. And I think most people, or looking at this at face value, makes you think that, okay, this is him looking for Dolores. Logan isn't with him. He seems to be alone. And just the shot in general reminds me of Teddy and Dolores riding together in the fields in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I think this is William after the experience that happened. I think it's him going back to Sweetwater. I think he's going back to see Dolores, and I think he's going back to leave the picture.
You think he's picking up a black hat in this last episode here? Or it's like it's just already symbolic that he's sort of he's changed.
I think it's
sales.
symbolic. I don't think they have to show that. I think that'll be a bit cheesy. But I think that after this whole event, that this tragic event, he will go back to see Dolores and to leave Westworld. And I think he will take that picture, and I think he will leave it behind.
Yeah.
And possibly the gun. Maybe to jog her memory because she forgot. So he had a purpose of hiding the picture there because someday it may be found, or I don't know.
Yeah, so you're predicting a scene where he goes and visits her again and she doesn't remember him even.
Yeah, and that's extremely tragic for him. So
Yeah.
I think that's what happens. But then we see William with a group of dead men because he killed them all. And Lawrence and Logan are there. So why is William pursuing Lawrence? What's your thought on this?
Because he seemed to have the answers before. And now he's without Dolores. He needs someone with answers. Because Logan's not going to show up for shit for this quest that he's on now.
Yeah.
Lawrence was the one that said nobody gets past that point. So he just backtracked to the last person he knows that can help him.
Yeah, and this goes back to the Man in Black saying that, hey, we used to be really good friends. And he's going back to get Lawrence. And I think whether Lawrence is being held hostage or whether he's actually with his friends, I don't think it really matters to William anymore. I think he's going to kill them all just the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he's playing this game, he needs to get Dolores. And to get Dolores, he needs Lawrence.
Yeah.
So no matter if these guys are on Lawrence's side or not, he's going to kill him and have Lawrence come with him.
Yeah, he's off the books.
Yeah. And then in another shot, we get a flash of William. It's almost like a quick cut. It's really hard to catch. But we see a man in a top hat behind him. Very random. I'm really digging deep here. I don't think you'd find a man in a top hat in any of these settings introduced. I think this is actually him in Sweetwater. I think this is him in the town getting ready to get back on the train to leave Westworld.
You know, it's funny. I think Abernathy has a top hat in his old loot.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, he does.
When he's like that chatty guy, like the filibuster or whatever you would call him.
Yeah, he does. It'd be interesting if we did see Abernathy, actually, in the past time with William.
Yeah, because he would be No,
Wait, wasn't he? I think he still was Dolores' father, though.
would he be at that time?
I'm not sure.
Well, we didn't really get to see.
And then we get a shot of Ford, and Ford is actually in his office, and he's looking at a host almost like with amusement, like he could be the Wyatt or something like that. Like he's a key part of his story. What I noticed is blonde hair, so obviously you could say Dolores, but I'm not sure. I honestly have nothing to say for this.
Oh, shoot. I was thinking, when you told me to look at it a little bit closer, I was thinking that it could be Ashley.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it's so stupid. My mind jumped to young Ford, which is like, why would he create his young self? But I just want to throw that out there, just in case by the slim chance it's right, I've said it. But then we get another shot. Ford is wearing different clothes, and he's standing behind Teddy. And I think it's really key because there's black behind him.
Those offices are pretty dark, and it's an upshot looking at Ford's face, so it would be like the dark roof of those dark-ass offices.
Okay. I really connected this to Teddy doing a shooting in Sweetwater. I think he's going to break bad in Sweetwater, and I think this is Ford kind of confronting him about it. But the background kind of threw me off, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, and then we get a couple other shots. Armistice ends up biting a guy, and she obviously is fighting too. So Maeve is really cracking into these hosts.
Oh, she's like dressed in regular future attire. She's fucking going up and down escalators. Like she's out, or she's almost out.
Exactly. And then we got a really interesting shot of a man standing in the game room where they look at the Westworld map, surrounded by all the workers. But this individual, I can't pin them, but to me, it looks the most like Bernard.
Could be, yeah.
There's a guy standing at the map looking like he's in charge. It seems like Bernard to me. And it wouldn't surprise me if Maeve brought him back and had him take over that map and develop a plan to get the sentient hosts out.
Yeah, it could be like he walked into... Oh, I don't know, man.
So I don't know. There's a lot to think about. And then we end this awesome tease with these violent delights have violent ends said by Bernard. So it's insinuating that he is coming back. So that's really exciting.
I literally cannot wait for this episode. It will be amazing.
I am super excited. And whatever happens, we are going to be covering it and talking future Westworld. So I'm really excited. But until then, I'll see you guys later.
See you guys.